Hello, everyone. Welcome to Backseat Managers. Again, we have me, Oscar, as your host again today, and we have Milo here with us as always. Two of us are going to be diving in again, all the fun stuff that's gone on this week. Lots of fun stuff to go over. Specifically, what we're going to be chatting about is mainly the big old game that happened on Saturday with Arsenal playing Brentford and the phenomenal weekend that it was to be an Arsenal fan. As around the Premier League, there were lots of other results that went on that made it a phenomenal weekend for us, which is fantastic. And if it can continue that way for every single weekend until the end of the season, that would be beautiful. So let's do that. But before we dive into that, I have to use my trusty whiteboard to show
Show
that
the
Milo.
people.
There we go. So if you're listening and aren't able to see, Milo beat me on predictions this week, which means case of ginger beer, his direction, or I guess it cancels us out or whatever. However we decide we want to do that at the end. But we're one each right now. So Milo correctly predicted that Chelsea would drop their guts against Newcastle, which
What was the score
a
I
funny
predicted?
game.
1-0?
1-0. Yeah, you were very conservative. And that was not how the score was.
Yeah, we'll talk about it more in a little bit, but
Yeah. And then you also correctly predicted that Tottenham would drop their guts as well against Aston Villa, which is funny. And then I predicted that City Liverpool would do us a massive solid and draw, which
what was your score prediction for that one?
2-2. So ended up being a little bit tighter line there. So the 1-1 draw between City and Liverpool. But before we get to any of those other games, because Premier League is important. We do love the Premier League, but we love Arsenal a lot more than any of the rest of it. So let's get chatting about Arsenal. I watched that game from the comfort of a pub in New York. So it's like the Arsenal pub in New York. So it's got a big old cannon on the front and Arsenal flags, and everyone in there is wearing an Arsenal shirt. The bartender's jumping around and having a great time. It's called O'Hanlon's. And it's, let's just say it was for 99% of the game, it was a very tense atmosphere.
I bet.
What were you thinking about during that game? What did you think?
I thought it was a tough match. Like I thought we
Did you expect that going into it?
Like I thought it would be difficult, but I didn't think it was going to be that difficult. And when you look back at the game, you could say that we didn't really deserve a win. A draw was more of a fair result because their back line was so resilient to our attacks. And like, although we had the ball in dangerous areas, we didn't really look threatening a lot of the time. We were kind of just passing it to the wing, having Martinelli do a couple like dribbles and then cut back and then cross it to far post where their guys are so much bigger than like our forwards and they were just dominating us. So I don't really know what we could change, but I just feel like a lot more directive approach, maybe down the middle. I was watching it over at Ollie's house with Jude and Ollie, and Ollie was the one that kept saying that. He's like, these crosses are making me lose my mind. We need to go straight through the middle.
Yeah, I honestly, if we had like a heat map of the game, which I'm sure they exist, it would look very boring. Just a massive U, like in one corner of the pitch, which is where I felt like two-thirds of the game was spent just in that U around the Brentford box, and I felt like it was over and over and over again. They had almost all 11 players just sitting in that box, and there was, I don't know, we would try the exact same thing a million times and it would never work. I do think we need to improve by quite a bit on our set pieces not so much. I mean, some of the corners, some of the, and not just set pieces, but kind of like balls into the box, different things like that. I feel like, you know, some of the kicks were very good, but I don't know. I feel like we take so many corners, we have so many crosses into the box, and all the time, I feel like it's more rare that we actually get something on it. Normally, the other team is beating us, and I think, I mean, that's how we won. To be fair, it was a cross across the box, and Havertz got on the end of it. But yeah, I feel like there's definitely room for improvement, but we do need to shake up the way that we're trying to get goals, because we're just getting found out a little bit, that we're not able to break down those defenses that just sit back like a boulder and just absorb pressure. So
Yeah, and especially with our play style and the plays that we have up front, you would say maybe if we got an Ivan Tony, then that play style would more suit us with the like going down the wing, cutting it back, crossing it to the far post with the winger's preferred foot. But when we don't really have that aerial threat in the box, it just becomes wasteful. And it's like we're doing all this build up play that's like really nice and really organized for like an end product that's probably not going to come. And we got lucky
yeah,
with Kai Havertz. And if anyone could score that goal, I'm glad it was Kai, because I think he obviously needed it. And a game winner like increases his value a lot, which has kind of been in the dumps lately. So it's good to see him score again an open play goal, and hopefully it's the start of a little bit better of a form for him.
yeah, and really the bar I was in just absolutely erupted in the Waka Waka chant when Kai scored that, and I was really happy for him to do that, which was awesome. But Gabriel Jesus is the same height as me, and I'm not a very tall man. I'm 5'9", and so crossing over and over again to a 5'9" person is not gonna. It's most of the time it's not really gonna work out.
Especially when the center backs are like 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah, like, I mean,
Like they're
corners and
big
different things like
boys.
that. Set pieces, we have a bit more chance, but I mean, just like the crosses, we're gonna have a hard time, getting goals that way. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, who did you think was our best player,
The man we've said 100 times. It's
Mister
Declan
Deck?
Rice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's so good.
He's so consistent. Like he's so good.
Yeah,
Like 105 million well spent. Well spent. Honestly.
yeah. I thought Zinch. I mean, specifically the one where he literally saved us off the goal line. I thought, but as well, I thought
Crazy.
he's had some very good performances recently that have really saved our bacon. So, respect for Zinch, because he was kind of becoming on the fringes of the first team, and he's really stepped up his game, which is
Who's
phenomenal.
Zinchenko?
Yeah, yeah. Not Declan Rice,
My
that's for
thing with
sure.
that is that he started that whole counter like attack.
That's true. Yeah, that's
And it
true.
was a
He
dumb mistake. Like watching him do it, I was like, what are you doing? Like I'm like yelling at him at my TV. And he did, like, credit to him, he did block that, and Ramsdale was nowhere close to that, so that was going to be a goal. Same with the Declan Rice one as well.
yeah. Well, let's talk
But
about that. You talking about dumb mistakes. Let's chat about a little bit of that ugliness. What did you think about those howlers? That performance that we saw from Aaron Ramsdale.
that was a bad first half. Probably the worst half I've seen Aaron Ramsdale ever play.
I would
Which
agree.
which sucks when you're trying to prove yourself, or try and like prove the critics wrong, validate what his dad's chatting about online. And
Well,
I think a lot of that comes with the pressure that Arteta's put on him. Like, obviously, we know he has quality. Like, he showed that in the second half, and he's a great keeper. And almost, I would say, like 80% of the teams in the Premier League would take him as their starting keeper right now. But that was a really poor performance. Really just dumb. Like, so
yeah,
dumb. The way he just like got tackled on the ball right in front of the goal, and then luckily Declan Rice was there. But then also when he threw it into the ground, literally 3 feet in front of him. Like, I've never seen anything like that. That
no,
was
he and
so strange.
he normally is very good with stuff like that. He's normally good with, he's normally pretty good with his feet, and you could just see there were definitely some jitters. And I don't know what was said at halftime, but whatever was said at halftime really galvanized him, because yeah, as you
Mhm.
said, he had a very good second half. And this, even top level goalkeepers make mistakes sometimes.
Yeah.
And he's specifically in, I mean, we saw Allison in that game for Manchester City against Liverpool had a terrible game, and made some pretty bad errors. And Allison is one of the greatest goalkeepers in the world. So
Yeah, you would probably say
the
the best.
possibly the best right now. And so you can, just because those howlers and the way that they were made, like with that throw and with that, they weren't evidences to me of a bad keeper. They were evidences, like the it wasn't like he was missing obvious saves, or like not, doing. He did two stupid things that were, they looked to me not like evidence of bad keeper. They looked to me like a jittery person whose nerves are shot, confidence is shot,
Yeah.
and just made some. And he looked completely different second half. Like he was just really on top of it. So hopefully we can see. I don't know. Hopefully he continues. I personally think he probably will leave in January, if things
I
continue
hope
as
he
they do right
doesn't.
now. I know.
Honestly.
I
Like, I hope he
I've
doesn't.
been I've been Ramsdale in from the get go. I love Aaron Ramsdale. Would love to keep him, but I think with the way things are at, I think he probably will leave in January. The tough thing is Arteta had said, yeah, two goalkeepers, two goalkeepers. But really, that's not been shown. Arteta has decided, like, we have a first choice goalkeeper and our second string goalkeeper, and Aaron Ramsdale is our second string goalkeeper. That's the decision that's been made by Arteta. So it makes sense that he is not rotating them, because that's the order that he sees them. I personally don't see it that way, but we kind of have to deal with that. So Aaron Ramsdale is too good to be a second string keeper, and so he's going to leave. That's my
Yeah.
personal view on it.
It's frustrating because I felt like last year, although Matt Turner has proven himself in the Premier League, that he is a Premier League quality keeper. Like, I feel like he's done really well since he switched over. But every time he was playing in goal, especially like in the Europa League or in the small cup matches, I was really worried. And I felt like we did not have the same stability in the back. And you could really tell when Ramsdale wasn't playing. The nice thing about right now is if Raya has to sit out or Raya's injured, Ramsdale is like almost the same level quality wise. And so I don't feel like our team is any weaker, you know?
No, yeah, I think Ramsdale is. I think there is very little between them. I think they're both great keepers. I think there's very little between them when they're on top form. So yeah, pretty crazy. But speaking of Allison, let's chat a little bit about some of the other games that went on this week. So as we were talking about, phenomenal week to be a Arsenal fan. So let's the biggest one. What commentators and pundits were saying was going to be possibly the biggest game of the season. Manchester City versus Liverpool. 1-1 draw. Wasn't I personally thought, the 1-0, even the score, even though it was less of a scoreline, I thought the Arsenal Newcastle was a more engaging game. Personally, I didn't think it was quite as blockbuster a game as I would have expected between City and Liverpool. But yeah, I don't know. What did you think of that game?
I thought it was a good match. It's not that typical City Liverpool game that we're kind of used to watching with these really aggressive attacks. It was a lot more
Yeah,
balanced. Players stuck to their positions more. Clinical finishes to get them on the score line. I thought it like a little bit. It was like more dry, just with the style of play, and that's a different type of football game to enjoy. Like it's one of those, like, if you're a fan of either of the sides, then you're just like locked in the whole game. Like whoever's gonna get the clinical edge is probably gonna win the match. And Holland did well to score that, also breaking that record. Quickest to 50 goals ever in the Premier League, which is nuts. So yeah, shout out to that guy. He's a monster. And then Trent Alexander-Arnold with an absolute rip. I thought it was sick. And in the fashion that they did it, like kind of late on to tie the game, and then it seemed like that's how the game was going to end. I thought was, especially as an Arsenal fan, like I was really happy to see that. Um, but overall, yeah, I don't think it was the most like engaging game, but probably for the fans, it probably felt like a very high intensity, just chess match a little bit between the two coaches.
yeah. Yeah, I kind of expected a bit more to come out of it, but yeah, we did see again. We chatted about this when we talked about England, but we saw again kind of Trent's both his quality and as well kind of his weaknesses. Doku, and I mean Doku's a monster, so that's part of it as well. But I felt like Doku was running him ragged on that left hand side. Um, but yeah, his he does have attacking quality that he can just pull out, and that was a great goal from him. And yeah, as I said, a shocker from Ellison. Other games that went on. Oh, go ahead. Were you going to say
I was
something?
just gonna say about Doku, I felt like he was smoking Trent like in the first half, but then they sort of got a game plan for him and he got some support. So when Doku would drive to the goal line, Trent would follow him and then he'd have the center back step in and then cover that if he cut back and then tried to come around the box and hit it with his right foot. And then I felt like when they were doubling up on him, he really couldn't do anything. I felt
Yeah,
like in the second half, he really got shut down. And him being the main point of penetration, when he kind of got locked down, they didn't really know what to do anymore. They still had Foden on the other side that was working and Alvarez in that number 10 role. But I felt like Liverpool did really well to like adjust to what City was throwing at them and then just wait for their opportunity, and Trent took it when he had it. And again,
totally.
such a good strike from Trent. Love it.
Yeah, he's great. But yeah, for sure. And he does have plenty of qualities. I just think there's better right backs in the league that exist
As you've
ahead of him.
demonstrated with your list last week.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Other games that were pretty interesting to watch. So we had so Newcastle smashed Chelsea 4-1. We had there was a pretty terrible one of the worst kind of howlers there were a lot of howlers of this weekend. But Thiago Silva's where he literally just kind of like passed the ball straight to their player, and he scored a goal. And then yeah, Reece James, when you're the captain, you can't be doing stupid stuff like that. You can't be, throwing your team under the bus. You're already down, and then doing a stupid thing like that to get the second yellow, get sent off, and basically wrapping the game up. There was still time to play. There was still a good chunk of time. where things might have been turned around. But with 10 men, you're dead in the water. There's nothing you can do at that point. So
it was a surprising fixture. I think most people expected Chelsea to win. Obviously, I know something that everyone else doesn't because I guessed Newcastle to win. But a little bit of a humble brag. But I think
not so humble.
Yeah, not so humble. But Newcastle just kind of ripped him apart. I think Isak coming back added a dimension that they've really been missing the past few weeks. And also some of the youngsters coming in played really well. Lewis Miley had a really nice assist to Isak. And then Anthony Gordon, he continues to go on this great run of form and kind of prove all of the doubters when he made that switch from Everton to Newcastle.
Of which I was
wrong.
one. I did not think he was, I placed him in a similar category to the way I currently place Calvert-Lewin. I didn't see kind of quite the level of quality that Everton fans had of Anthony Gordon, and obviously Newcastle had when they decided to purchase him. But he has been phenomenal for them. He's done a fantastic job. Same with Isak.
I think
he was linked with Arsenal for a long time, and I thought he would be a massive flop in the Premier League, but he has done phenomenal. So
I thought that too, honestly. I thought Isak wasn't going to do as well. And Anthony Gordon, I had the same sort of outlook until the World Cup, like the U21s or U23 World Cup that they won. And probably like a lot of other people, when I watched a few of those matches, I was like, okay, I think this is really going to be a turning point for Anthony Gordon. And it really was. Since then, he's been playing great.
Because Nketiah, it was absolutely phenomenal for England under 21s. I think he's the top goal scorer, maybe even top goal scorer ever for England under 21s. I might be misquoting that for sure.
I think he's like the youth teams. I think he has the record for the most
he was insane for the England under 21s, and so you would think he was going to be this world destroyer, and he still has plenty of years ahead of him, but I definitely think Anthony Gordon is a level above Eddie Nketiah. So, yeah, I don't know that would have, to me, have been quite as much of an indication of his skill as it was to you. But
yeah, for me, it was just that I was seeing him play a certain way that I hadn't seen him play while he's been at Newcastle for the second half of the season. And he obviously had quality at Everton, but we didn't know how that would translate to a top club. And also the way that it happened, just with his sort of backing out when Everton were in a relegation fight, especially when he's an Everton man, supporter wise. So I don't know. I felt a lot of people had negative feelings towards him after that. And I don't know if that just affected his play on the field once he moved over to Newcastle, or he just found it hard in a different system. But this season he's done really amazing, and I think he's really turned a corner, honestly.
Yeah, I think he's been great. Tottenham, Aston Villa. So that was a pretty crazy game as well. Again, Tottenham is just, as we said before, we said this before, and you can say we have a crystal ball and that we can predict the future. So if anybody wants to know their futures, just ask us. Because as soon as those injuries from Madison and Van de Ven came in, we thought they were going to have problems. To be honest, that scoreline flatters Aston Villa by quite a bit, in my opinion. Son was not on the score sheet, but he would have had a hat trick if he figured out what an offside is. He had 3 times he had the ball in the net and his foot was over the line. Just get onside.
Man's looking
son.
like Richarlison right now.
Seriously. Like he get onside. And then Kulusevski. Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah, right as you're about to say, Kulusevski with an absolute sitter right in front of goal nails the woodwork. You're like, how the hell did you do that? Seriously. And Yeah, Son just needs to have that sort of that presence of mind, especially as the captain. Like, you can't be offsides that much, and obviously with VAR now, they're always going to call it. So he's just got to be better with that, honestly.
And maybe it's him transitioning to kind of being in this full-time number 9 rather than like playing on the wing. Like he's like being down that middle and constantly like on that top goal line. I don't know if that has an effect on it at all, but yeah, it's unfortunate for them because the scoreline should look very different if the way that they played. I thought that Tottenham, like as a whole, played better than Aston Villa. But unfortunately, a loss is a loss, and a loss is our gain, and it put Aston Villa all the way up into 4th place currently, which is insane.
Above
Credit to
Tottenham.
Unai Emery, above Tottenham. So, which is crazy. So,
Also, something we didn't mention before, Sterling's freaking free kick was sick.
that was good. And maybe this is just because I'm a disgruntled FIFA fan, because I have never scored a FIFA free kick in my life, and so I just like assume
That makes one of us.
Yeah, okay, jerk. I just assume that when people take a free kick, it's going to be a good effort and it's going to be close, but it's not going to go in. Unless it's like Messi or Ronaldo behind the ball.
Or James Ward-Prowse.
Exactly, yeah. Normal, like, it's very rare. And that was so cleanly in. And Nick Pope basically had as much confidence of that ball going in as we did because he didn't move an inch. He was just like stayed in the same spot. So yeah,
he's like, freak, this is going top bins.
Yeah, but it's okay for him because they ended up winning 4-1. So
true.
But speaking of screamers, let's talk about Mr. Garnacho at Manchester United. So crazy stat, and I did verify this because I heard a commentator say it, and I was like, there is no way. And I looked it up, and it's true. Going into that game, of all United's forwards, only 1 goal had been scored, and it was by Marcus Rashford. So of all of United's forward players
this season,
Rashford has scored the only goal, and he'd only scored 1 going into this game.
Very impressive.
That is pathetic. And then this game, all 3 goals were scored by Man United forwards. So Martial scored, Garnacho scored, and Rashford scored. So, but that, I mean, that shows how pitiful Man United have been so far this season. But they have been kind of changing their fortunes going into this game. But I mean, before we dig too much into that, let's chat about Garnacho for a second, because that was one of the best goals I have ever seen.
Me too. It was so sick. He hit that so clean, so perfect. And what a way to open your scoring for the season. Like, that was his first goal of the season in the Premier League. And it was Ronaldo-esque. Like, exactly the same kind of one he hit for Madrid. And the way he hit the Sui after, I thought it was dope. I thought, like, it was awesome, especially because everyone knows he's the
Ronaldo
kind of Sui. Yeah. The Sui. And he just, like, especially because he's a Ronaldo fan, and he played with him for a brief amount of time, and he's not shy that he's a Ronaldo fan. I've seen some people on social media kind of bag on him for that, being like, come up with your own celebration or something. But I think, especially after scoring a goal like that, like, that's a perfect time to do it. I'd hit this if I did that.
It wasn't. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. Ronaldo's has done some amazing goals, but I don't know if he's ever done one better than like I'm sure he's scored comparable. Like, his goals are comparable, but I honestly don't know if it's possible to score a better goal than that. Like, I felt like it was. Yeah, I don't know. It was just. I don't think I don't think it's humanly possible to score a better goal than that. I know, what's
Yeah, I
better?
don't.
Would you take a bicycle or a halfway?
A
Like a
halfway line goal.
yeah,
I
like
think
like Harry
the only way.
Kane's
Yeah,
against. Which one would
I
you
think
take?
it just depends. Like if the keeper's out and he's not even in the goal, and you chip him from the halfway line, that's cool. But if you hit a bicycle in the top corner when the keeper's like ready for it and it goes in, I think that's cooler, honestly.
Okay, so Garnacho in your face, Harry Kane. Just
Yeah.
kidding. I love Harry Kane. Yeah. So that was insane, and good on Man United. They had such a poor start to the season, but they really have been
They're
climbing
very
back up
on
the
form right
rankings.
now. Yeah,
Yeah, they really are.
they're
I
what?
mean,
They're only
granted,
6 points off the top.
yeah, they are. Let me pull it up right now.
They're
And
what,
granted,
24 with
all their
30?
games, yeah, 24 with 13. They are 4 points out the top four. Um, so yeah, 4 points behind both Liverpool and Aston Villa. So not far away at all. Um, but yeah, and to be honest, the games that they've won, they should have won. Right? They didn't win crazy like they beat Everton, Luton, and Fulham the last three games. Yes, they're 3 wins. That's phenomenal. They really should be beating any of all of those teams. And they only won 1-0 against Fulham and Luton, but it's still points on the board. And so you got to give it to them. They are kind of changing their stars. But we'll see if that continues. They've got Newcastle and then
Yeah.
Chelsea the next 2 games out. So
And also, I mean, with the same sort of excuse I've been giving to Newcastle, got to give the same to Man United. Got to be even. Like
got to
Man
be
United,
consistent.
yeah, got to be consistent. Man United have a lot of injuries. Like they really do. Their forward line has been looking very shallow. Also, I didn't know what was going to happen in the back line with Varane, with that huge bust up with Ten Hag. Seems like Ten Hag is falling out with a lot of his players that have been brought in for a lot of money, but they're still getting results. So it's not like we can criticize them too much, especially with
Harry
the
Maguire
injuries
with a
they
clean
have.
sheet,
Yeah,
So,
best
uh,
Premier League defender ever.
so
Crossies.
last, yeah. So last but not least, so talking about bottom of the table chat, I feel like I'm glad we didn't put money or a shirt or a jersey or anything on that because Sheffield were abysmal. And they were so bad, and I'm
Didn't you
really
have
glad.
Sheffield going down?
No, I had Sheffield staying alive. It was right off the back of them beating Wolves, and so I
Oh
thought I'd
no.
roll the dice, and say
We're still gonna
Burnley,
do some
Bournemouth, and
sort of
Luton.
bet. We're
Yeah,
still gonna do something.
okay, but we haven't done it yet, so I can change my prediction. Because Bournemouth, I mean, Bournemouth are putting distance. Like they beat Newcastle, and then they beat Sheffield. That was the clash, right? Like that if they were either team was going to escape the relegation, they need to sink those games. And so Bournemouth, Bournemouth did that. They were able to beat Sheffield very comfortably, very very comfortably. And that the one from the error from their goalkeeper was from West Fotherningham was awful. So that was bad as well. So it was just for goalkeepers, it was a pretty bad week with Ramsdale, Allison, and as well Sheffield's goalkeeper as well. It was very
Also,
poor.
my team that I predicted to make it out of the bottom choked again.
Yep.
Again, they were very close to winning the game and at the end bottled it. So
Do you think that Everton is going to go down?
I don't know. I think
So they
it
had their
just
10-point
depends.
deduction. So right now, sitting at the bottom of the table, we have Burnley and Everton at 4 points, Sheffield at 5, Luton at 9, and Bournemouth at 12. Bournemouth has climbed up, so they're drawing with Fulham already. And only a point behind Forest. So they are doing pretty good, actually. They
And I could
have closed
I
that gap.
could continue to see them like have good form. They honestly have some quality players. I feel like this style of play is like honestly not boring to watch, not like
Like
the worst.
Dominic
So
Solanke already has 6 goals and an assist so far this season.
that's
That's a good
crazy.
return. That is
Yeah.
a very good return for someone up front. So, good on Dominic Solanke and for his squad. I think they should be able to escape that. So, I personally think that Everton, even with the 10-point deduction, I think they have enough quality to get out. But I don't know. It a 10-point deduction is demoralizing though, and so it will be interesting to see. 3-0 they lost today against Manchester United. We'll see what they've got coming up. So, any of the other games that you wanted to chat about?
Honestly, shout out Man United. I think most people expected Everton to win, especially with
Really?
the kind of
I
situation.
don't know if you have a
Yeah.
good read on people. Like you say most people expected Chelsea to beat Newcastle. I think the opposite. And you said most people would expect Everton to beat Man United. I don't know if you know what the public thinks.
Here's what I'm saying, and this is just based off of things I've seen on social media
Okay.
and like different YouTubers and stuff like that. A lot of stuff that I was seeing to defend myself first for the Chelsea Newcastle one. Chelsea just came off the back of tying with City at their home ground, and also Newcastle have been ravaged with injuries. So and Newcastle haven't been in good form. So a lot of people were expecting Chelsea to get a result from that. And
Even
from
at
what
St.
I'd
James
seen,
Park?
even at St. James Park, yeah.
No.
Like, but I mean, I like traditionally, and especially not traditionally, but like with how Newcastle have been performing the past year and a half, I would say that Newcastle are the favorites. But even I was kind of fooled. I thought Chelsea was like had a really, really good chance of winning that, and they just got destroyed. And then with the Everton Newcastle or the Everton United game, I think everyone has just like to a certain degree crapped on Man United, and everyone thought that I need to stop saying everyone, but a lot of people thought
Blanket
that
statement. Every football
yeah,
fan. Even Man
everyone in the
United fans.
world, even me, no, but most people or a lot of people thought that Everton would get a result just with kind of the Sean Dyche style and personality, as well as how they've been performing this year and how low in confidence I feel like Man United are.
I mean
But they didn't look like it.
yeah, they did. They don't have Anthony Gordon anymore, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin is not really doing what he needs to be doing. Like he's not scoring the goals that Everton needs him to score. So
I think he's been pretty reasonable this year, but I don't know how.
How many has
he scored? Like 3 goals?
I feel like he's doing better than he he has generally. He does have 3 goals, which is a better return than he normally has. He this is pretty sad. The whole of last season he scored 2, and this season before he got
crazy.
5. So granted, but he has had some pretty bad injuries that's kept him out. Like he only played half the games
still though
that existed last season. But
you got to bag more goals than that.
You have to when you are the entire front line because they play such a defensive play. It's really on his shoulders to get some goals. And yeah, so moving on though, we have some extra time. So I was just curious. We've never talked about this before, so I am just curious. Outside of Arsenal, outside of the Premier League, are there any other football teams that you support?
It's a great question.
Do you keep an eye on any other teams? Because I know I do, and so I'm curious whether you have like your priority 1 team and like some priority 2 or 3 teams that you'll keep an eye on.
There's a few Premier League teams that I always keep an eye on. I think you know this, but like when I was a lot younger, I really liked Wolves a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that was back when they before they were in the Premier League a little bit, and then they went down. But
Speaking of that,
I
by the way,
but
I found out we have. I was with some of our cousins out in New Jersey recently, and turns out they're all Wolves fans. So
who?
it's the Daniels. So
Oh,
they
really?
yeah, they're all Wolves fans. So that's interesting.
Interesting.
So it is in our blood, I guess. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, well, and then I always have liked Aston Villa. I think, and especially since Unai Emery went there, and I always really liked Steven Gerrard as well. Um, but he
Wait.
was obviously really poor there.
Oh, okay. I was like, he's Liverpool.
Yeah, no, when he was coaching, even though it
Okay.
was a
Yeah,
poor
yeah, yeah,
coaching stint.
yeah,
But
yeah.
and then I really like Unai Emery. I think before he went there, he was the exact. He went to the exact team that I was like, Unai Emery should coach this team, and I was like, Aston Villa would be perfect because they have high quality plays, but they haven't really had the right system to get the best out of them. And I feel like that's what Emery does best is like with those middle pushing like top tier players in a league, he gets them performing really well, and he's really great at the cup competitions as well. So I
I
think
do.
he's awesome.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
do cheer them on. I do like, and
And
you got to be
Emmy as
careful
well.
though because you got to be careful because we're you know they're in Champions League contention now, so we you got to make sure our loyalties where they're at. There definitely are
Yeah.
there are teams even within the Premier League that I do like more than others. Like Brighton, I like them. They're that's the part of England that we're from, not too far away from Brighton, kind of that general area, and so. Um, that's I kind of like them and want them to succeed. Aston Villa, our dad went to university there, so he's actually he likes um, he's kind of a Villa fan. So, but Nottingham Forest I also kind of like as well. And then there's the ones we hate, obviously, like Chelsea, United, Tottenham, blah blah blah.
Yep.
Moving below that though, so let's talk about like lower leagues because we chat Premier League all the time. Let's say below Premier League, any teams that you specifically follow or keep an eye on.
Um, I let me look in the championship.
So I mean, I'll tell you mine.
I've always
I
liked
look
Leicester,
okay.
but
I like
I feel like they're
Ipswich.
more of
I'm all about
Ipswich is
Ipswich.
sick this year.
Ipswich, well, they're sick this year. They're doing great, but that's because, and you should support Ipswich. We were both, even though our family's from South London, um, and we lived a lot south of London. Both Milo, both of us were born in Ipswich, or Bury St Edmunds, but we lived in Ipswich and lived close to Ipswich. So Ipswich Town, I always keep an eye on them and see how they're doing. And it looks like they're going to be in the Premier League this season.
That'd be
They
awesome.
unfortunately, yeah, it would be great. Challenge my loyalty. I'm just kidding. I'm Arsenal through and through, but I do really want them to succeed. They unfortunately lost against West Brom this last week, but they have been killing it, and it definitely looks like it's going to be them and Leicester coming up this next season with to the Premier League with some other team. They've both been dominating the championship so far. So really, really do keep an eye on them, and really want them to succeed. Other than that, so that's I would probably say Arsenal, and then Ipswich is kind of my second team. And then moving further down the
Nice.
leagues, um, I'm a Rob McElhenney fan, like the actor, and I don't mind Ryan Reynolds either. I think he's pretty funny. So I do like
Oh,
Wrexham. I
I
know
see.
I know it's
The
kind of a
American club.
popular, yeah, but the American Welsh Club, I do keep an eye on them as well. I watched the documentary. I really enjoyed the documentary. We went out to Philly because it's just a day trip away, and Rob McElhenney has like a pub out there, and it's like full of Wexham, Wexham. What am I theory? Full of Wrexham stuff, so like shirts and banners and stuff, which is kind of cool. But
Yeah.
so I do keep an eye on them as well. They've been doing great as well. They just barely came up from the National League, and they're in contention right now with getting promoted 2 years on the bounce. So they are up there, looking to move all the way up to League One this next season, from League Two. So I'm hoping they do it as well. They won 6-0 this last weekend, so they're doing great. They're in second place right now. As a newly promoted team and going to second place is pretty phenomenal. So,
Yeah.
what about you? Any
in
sub Premier League teams?
Other like top 5 leagues, I can think of a couple. I always keep track of Barca and Madrid. I feel like with them, I just like some of the players that are there, and so inherently, I keep tabs. I think I like
Like Jude
Madrid
Bellingham
right now.
mainly? Or
Yeah,
is it because of Jude?
but like I was, you always kind of do that, like growing up, and as you get older as well. Like with having Messi and Ronaldo, you'd always just be checking on the highlights and also
Wait, are you
all of
more
the
of
other
a
super
Real
team
fan than
players.
a Barcelona fan? Are you Real or
No,
Barcelona?
I think in our family, you and Ollie are both like more Barca than Madrid fans, right?
Oh, I'm very much Barcelona. Very much Barcelona.
I feel
I
like yeah, let's go ahead.
no, you go.
I feel like I used to like Barcelona a lot, and I didn't necessarily like Madrid better. I think now I definitely do, especially with the players they have. I think they're way more fun to watch. I feel like Barca are kind of average right now, honestly.
I
But
definitely have fallen out of love with them. But I used to follow them, not quite to the same extent as Arsenal, but they were definitely kind of the team I was watching the second most.
yeah,
Especially when they had, Messi, Suarez, Neymar. Obviously, that was such an engaging front three.
yeah,
And so was Benzema, Bale, and Ronaldo. But I definitely leaned Barcelona, completely Barcelona. I was quite anti-Real. Um, and as well, having people like Puyol on the back line and Xavi and Iniesta in the midfield, they're an easy team to love for
yeah,
sure. I and so as the team has grown, as even when players have left, well, Puyol kind of handed the reins to Piqué, and now it's kind of passed as well. Their current team, I definitely don't have as much of an attachment with, not nearly close to. I don't follow them much anymore. They, I've kind of been sick of a lot of stuff that they've done. Financially, they have just been all over the place. And have made so many different signings that make zero sense. So I don't really love Barcelona much anymore, but I'm still
yeah.
Barcelona over Real.
I think I do like Madrid a little bit more historically. I I really like Ronaldo, but I definitely like Messi
I
more, and I
don't.
always have. Yeah, Oscar is a very anti
Anti.
Ronaldo
I
person.
am
Yeah,
anti Ronaldo.
but I think he's always been sick, and growing up with our extended family that was United fans, he would just terrorize us when as like a fan that supports Arsenal. I was always terrified of when Ronaldo would come in a United shirt. And then when he went to Madrid, I've always thought Madrid have had a really well balanced squad, and especially the kind of new Madrid generation that we're seeing, with the likes of Cruz and Modric being phased out. Casemiro recently left. Benzema leaving. Ronaldo's out. You're really seeing like a bunch of new talent come through, and especially the midfield, I think, is really fun to watch. I was also always sort of a Sergio Ramos fan. But
Sergio Ramos, definitely is in the conversation of greatest ever centre backs. He
yeah,
is like, I've never been a big Sergio Ramos fan, but I will admit that he is insane. I'll always take Puyol over Sergio Ramos just because I love Puyol. But
yeah.
yeah, he is phenomenal.
Also, some other teams in France. Toulouse, I've always kind of kept an eye on, especially because it was only an hour and a half from where we lived in France for a couple
Less. It was
years.
like 45 minutes. It was very close.
Really, it was that?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy.
super close.
And then I also really like Marseille, and Marseille was really close to us as well.
It's because they're Arsenal's B team. Like all our
Yeah,
rejects go to Marseille.
no,
So
it's true. But it's been like honestly kind of fun because then I get to watch his squad, see a couple different plays, but I don't feel like there's as many anymore. I think I don't think is Aubameyang injured or something? I don't think he's played the last few games. But
yeah,
we'll see.
yeah. They've
Like
had
Guendouzi's getting phased out. I don't think Klasnach is getting much playing time.
yeah they've had a lot of our players over time for sure, and they still they've still got Aubameyang, and they had Sanchez as well for a little while, didn't they?
Yeah, I think for a minute. I don't know when he left, but he's
Yeah,
not on this squad anymore.
but no, it's interesting. There's yeah, but I definitely I don't really keep an eye much internationally at this point, other than kind of checking in and seeing what the leagues are doing. But there's not like a team I really root for, I would say, internationally. It's definitely English teams, Premier League, and some lower level teams.
And I feel
Um,
like for me, it's usually, and I think American sports are more like this than English or European sports, but I feel like it's a lot more common to follow the players. Like, obviously, like, there's diehard fans that support clubs everywhere. I'm not saying that all of American sports are only targeted towards following players, but I think it's a lot more common. And I find that with following clubs outside of the Premier League, a lot of the time it's players that have played in the Premier League that have gone elsewhere, and then I'll start, watching highlights or games of clubs that have had maybe ex Arsenal players or ex Premier League players that I like. So I feel like that's more so the sort of fan of other leagues that I am. But
like you'll cheer for anybody that LeBron's wearing a jersey for,
exactly, 100%.
for
That
sure.
guy could be 80 years old and I'd still be a fan.
Yeah, you totally would. Cool. Well, should we do predictions for this next week and then wrap it up?
Yeah,
So,
let's do it. I'm ready to get
and
some ginger
hopefully,
beer.
yeah, right. So let's take a look here. So this next week, let's do Newcastle against Manchester United.
Wow, I didn't know that game was coming up.
Yep.
I'm gonna say 2-1 Newcastle.
2-1 Newcastle.
Yeah,
I am going to say 3-1. No, I'm going to say 2-1 Manchester United.
really
Burnley.
interesting.
Yeah, I think Man United will win it. Burnley Sheffield.
Wow,
Yeah.
what a terrible match. I think I'm gonna go 2-0 Burnley.
2-0 Burnley. I'm gonna go 1-1. Chelsea Brighton. What are you thinking?
This is a hard one.
You
Here,
think
you can
Chelsea will
go
be able to
first.
bounce back? Okay. I think
You're
it's
gonna
gonna
go
be a
Brighton.
2-2 draw.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I think. Wow.
Yeah. It's a tough matchup.
Yeah, I think 1-0 Bryson.
1-0 Brighton. Okay. And then last of all, this is going to be another good game. So Manchester City against Tottenham this next week.
You go ahead.
Okay, I think Manchester City is going to win 3-1.
I'm going to go
So
2-1 City.
yeah, so we both think that Tottenham is as we said, we said that we think Tottenham's going to drift a little bit away from the top rankings, and I think it's going to continue. But those are some really good clashes at the bottom of the table and at the top of the table. Newcastle, Man United, both on the fringes of the Champions League. That would be really interesting. Hopefully they draw. And Manchester City against Tottenham. Hopefully they draw as well. But sounds like neither of us really expect that to happen. So, but yeah, that is everything from us here on the Backseat Managers podcast. Hopefully we see another phenomenal week of being an Arsenal fan with Arsenal against Wolves next Saturday. So, but that's everything. We still haven't received a new slogan yet. So it is still stay breezy out there, everybody. So stay breezy. And please give us
That
something
can't be
else.
it. I'll come up with a new one right now.
You come up with a new one. Okay, go ahead.
It's
3, 2, 1, go. That's it.
keep
It's
scoring.
stay breezy, everybody. No, keep scoring.
Yeah,
No, that's a dumb one. Still, stay breezy. We'll try again next. Week.
I'm doing it under pressure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna put you under pressure again next week. So,
Perfect.
okay. Well, okay. That's everything from us. Have a fantastic day and watch with us, listen to us again next time with the Backseat Managers podcast. Take care.
Peace.